High Queen podcast.
Prepare to embark on a journey through books you'll fall in love with, as well as the leading ladies who inspire our own stories.
Our friendship blossomed from pageantry to page turners, sparking a desire to show other women that they too can be their own main character.
I'm Miranda.
And I'm Autumn.
And together we'll lead you through books of all genres, from epic fantasy series, romance, all levels of spice, even to autobiographies of real life heroines.
Now, we are some passionate bitches, so remember this podcast is rated R. Prepare your ears. It's time to celebrate the heroines who redefine what it means to be brave and bold.
So grab your book, beverage, and bestie and crack open our book to page 412. Let's do a little check-in with each other before we dive on in.
Yes, that's a lot of pages.
Yeah,
all pages.
We're deep in. We are deep in thick ass book.
Yes. Okay. So my check-in. I'm amping up into my busy season. I think actually that's a terrible way to say that. I think I'm in my busy season. We've dove in head first. Yeah. Recently discovered the beauty of brown noise, which I know I'm super late to the game there. But
I don't know what brown noise is.
Great. So it's like white noise, but at a different frequency. And my brain loves it. I've never been more productive in my life than when these headphones are on and there's just this ambient sort of sound happening. I tune it out. I forget it's happening. And I get a lot done. Yeah, super fan of that.
Try that.
I know. Happy and productive camper over here. Speaking of camping, but not really. Glamping? Beach glamping. Miranda and I are going to a book retreat in November, and we are so excited. It's in conjunction with the Book and Gather company and the wonderful Instagrammer, TikToker, Unhinged Book Talk. Her name is Sierra. They're putting this on just a few hours for me, so I told Miranda, I said, get your booty down here. We're going to go.
If I must.
We're going to go chit-chat with some other bookish besties. I'm excited.
I'm so excited. I love getting to plan the next trip.
Yes, y'all, our room is called Helian's Haven.
I'm obsessed. I am obsessed.
Yeah, and it's going to be right after we finish the entire Massverse. We've read the most recent drop of SJM's book. And then we're just going to get to go revel in it with other people who are just as excited for January.
It's going to be like summer camp in the best way.
Yes, exactly, with a beach.
And books and people who like the same books. God, what an experience.
I know. So excited. I feel like a kid, but like even better.
Agreed.
But
and
speaking of excitement, though, you've been on some pretty exciting adventures.
Oh, yes. I just got back from Germany, which was an absolute blast. I got to go and present on my children's book, Jericho the Journalism Kitty, at an international school there, which was so fun. The kids just always melt my heart. And we may have a couple ideas for some other kids' books. And they said, come back, come see us again. And I said, we can make that happen. So maybe we'll get to go back. It was a blast. We saw lots of castles, which just fulfilled something in my fantasy loving heart. We toured a couple. We saw Frankenstein's castle, which was so cool. Loved it. But as fun as being on vacation is, busy season. I get that. End of the semester, got to get back into the work grind, the school work grind, all the things. But I got to thinking, I was doing a little scroll on Instagram, and who popped up but our wonderful tattoo artist in Florida. And I was like, if I'm going to be back in Florida.
Oh boy. You're going to get another tattoo.
I might have to. But she just popped up and I was like, it's as if the algorithm knows that I will be back.
But it's meant to be. Yep. Look at that.
Yes.
How about that? Well, I think we should dive into the story because quite a lot happened in these chapters.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Writing the summary was like, what do I put in and what do I don't?
A lot going on. So take it away.
All right. Well, I will say that this section of the
Oh,
book
lol. I
feels.
totally skipped over
You're good,
our
dude.
impressions. Sorry. I was
Autumn's
so
like, I just want to
excited.
hear the summary. I just had a
Freak
little
out.
chunk that I wanted to say. Do you want to
I
give your
just
impression?
yes, I totally was like, let's
All right,
go,
you threw me
bitch.
off.
Okay.
I was like, I do
Sorry.
have something I want to say.
My bad. I was planning to say, look, I planned ahead and everything. Okay, love these chapters. The catharsis of them is so gratifying to me. That was my initial impression of this area of the book. Sorry.
I agreed. I said there's a lot of up and down in this book, but that makes it feel more realistic, I think, to the human experience for
Mm-hmm.
me. We talk a lot about healing. Healing is not linear, and I think these chapters reflect that in a really beautiful and devastatingly beautiful in certain times way. And it just has me so ready for the next section 3 of the book, which will be Valkyrie. But before we can get into what in the heck that's going to be, let's go through these 10 chapters. So we do open with a trip to the blacksmith. It's a little bit of a field trip because Cassian wants Nesta to see how much work and skill goes into the process, to show her that a blade is not merely a tool for killing, but a piece of art as well. Love that quote. So, with an understanding of how the weapons are now made, and even getting her hands a little dirty, hammering at a few, Nesta begins to learn some of the patterns that she will use when she's ready to hold a blade. But it's not her training of that has Cassian and a newly returned Lucian speechless. It's what Nesta leaves behind after moving on to practice her punches. The punching bag tree is left smoldering with a hole burnt through it. Her silver fire makes an appearance for just a moment, and it leaves Cassian kind of trembling and Lucian saying, "Mother, spare you all." Well, the next day we have to head to the Hewn City, where Helion, our Helion's haven, Helion arrives in style, riding in on a black stallion Pegasus, a vision to behold. And they're meeting here to discuss something not so great, the Autumn Court soldiers that we found in the Bog of Orid. We all come to the realization while chatting that what was enchanting their minds must indeed be the dread trove. Excuse me, guys. Must indeed be the dread trove crown. All that's left to find, the harp. We get a little attempt at some flirting from Helion to Nesta, like, duh, of course that's what he's going to do. And Nesta, of course, just kind of brushes him off, as she does. But he does help her kind of learn and everybody else learn how to ward and lock the room that they're going to be holding the mask in. They end up having to kind of use her blood. It's a whole thing. And Cassian is jealous of this interaction between Helion and Nesta. And that night, back at the House of Wind, he uses books as a reason to go to Nesta's room. But books be damned, it's spicy time. And now, y'all, I could, but I'm not going to reiterate the entire thing for you line by line. But I do think these are some swoon-worthy moments that will remind us just how good this encounter was. So here's a few. Quote, "You won't hurt me. I want you unleashed. Do you want my finger, my tongue, or my cock, Nesta? I still need more. How can I need you again so soon? I've needed you from the moment I first met you. And now that I get to have you, I don't want to stop." And then, y'all, I recorded this section because I was told to, and y'all are going to get to see it. I slammed my Kindle down because then he says, "Put your hands on the headboard. Put your motherfucking hands on the headboard." Y'all, I have been
Iconic.
waiting for that line. And I was, again, reading at work because I did. I knew it was somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately. But like, who it was with and what it was about. I didn't know, but I knew it was coming. And it was so good, except I was like fanning myself at work. I was like, okay.
Wait, where were you when you were reading this?
Oh, I was at work, sitting behind the counter at
Oh,
the
okay. I
boutique.
was really hoping you were going to be like on an airplane next to a stranger.
Uh, no, I would have been next to my parents.
Yeah. At
Yeah,
work is better.
I love you, mom and dad. They got to come to Germany with me. It's so fun. But yeah, I was like, I think that I'll read these in on my own time, which work is
Yeah.
not my own time, but I got a lot of downtime. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Please all giggle at the moments that I will share with you on social media. I hope you guys are getting a kick out of those.
I
They're
love
fun
that
to
because
relive.
I'm pretty sure like the first time I read this, I was like doing the dishes or something. I don't know. Like
I
my
would have
whole
to stop.
family's around the house and I'm like doo 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 doo.
I would be like mid washing dish, like jaw on the floor. My husband would be like, "What are you listening to? Don't worry about it. You can listen to it later."
That happened to me once.
Oh,
Sorry for the interjection. That happened to me once and then my husband took my book and locked me out and finished reading what I was reading and then brought it back to me.
he said, "Here you go." Oh
Yeah.
man. Well, we all needed to take a moment to
We're
cool
back.
ourselves off. Oh, it always comes back. It always comes back. God, what a section. What a section. But we wake up the next morning bright and early as Cassian, Azriel, and Amren were all summoned to meet with Rhysand.
Mm.
Uh-oh. The blacksmith
Mm.
that Nesta and Cassian met with at the beginning of this section brought Rhys the weapons that Nesta worked on in a panic, saying that they are cursed. In fact, they're not cursed, but they are embedded with Nesta's power, something that Rhys and Amren say hasn't been done in more than 10,000 years.
Mm.
Hmm. So her power created a new dread trove, a sword, a dagger, and a longer greatsword. Power that others may want to wield, and Amberyn calls it a trove of nightmares. Shit. And then the shit just keeps hitting the fan as Rhys tells us that Miriam and Dracon cannot help Feyre with the baby, and neither can the Dawn Court. The Seraphim and the Peregrines, they got flexible wings. They can bird those babies. They don't know what to do, and Feyre still doesn't know. Quote, I haven't told her yet that it might very well claim her life.
Mm.
I haven't told her that the nightmares that now send me lurching from sleep aren't ones of the past, but of the future. Mm. Well, to distract from this horror, attention is again on the Trove of Nightmares because, Amron's like, boys, do not touch those. What do? Loophole, use Rhysand's power to touch them. Like, duh. We wanted to see what they look like. They're like beautifully scary. And
Yeah.
as they're looking at the Trove of Nightmares, Amren pops back in. She's like, I knew you motherfuckers couldn't stay away. And she provides an interesting idea. Rhys could use them, this new trove, to be High King of Prythian, and with him, Feyre, the High Queen, to unite the courts and rally against the outside forces. And it pisses Rhys off. He does not want it and does not like them talking about it. But maybe it's not a bad idea. A united front of Prythian. They're kind of convinced that most of the High Lords might bend the knee. And then who's left to deal with? Tamlin and Baron? It's interesting. And then Amren looks at Rhys, who's defiant, and she says, look at the great sword before you, Rhysand, and tell me it is not a sign from the cauldron itself. And again, it's maybe something to consider, but Rhys continues to say no. And, Amren, who always drops the wisdom, she says, but know that the cauldron's benevolence will be extended to you only for so long before it is offered to another.
Mm.
To who? You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like if this may be the idea the cauldron wants, who else could be the best person to unite Prithian against all that
Great
comes?
question.
Oh, it's a lot to consider. There's just so much. Um, and like Cassian and Azrael are kind of for it, and Rhys is just totally against it. It's quite the my brain has gone away. Just quite the moment. Quite the moment.
Conundrum.
Yes, that's a good word for it. So a lot to consider, especially as Cassian and Nesta, they got to head to the spring court and meet up with Eris and talk a little bit about what's going on with his soldiers and, tell him about the crown and give him a little bit more information. And, they argue. Shocker, lots of arguing. And while the three of them are kind of sharing these harsh words back and forth, a presence approaches, a presence on soft paws. Who is it? It's Tamlin. And he threatens them. So Nesta threatens right back, allowing her power to well up within her. Her eyes are glowing, her hands crackling with embers, and the world around them begins to shake. And she points that finger at him, just as she did the king of Hybern. And at that, Tamlin backs down, remembering the promise that finger held as Nesta was pushed into the cauldron because of him. Tell anyone you saw us, High Lord, and I'll rip your head from your body too. So back to Valaris. We do some more training. We discuss the Valkyries a little bit more. We learn that Cassian knew the Valkyries. And then we get a little bit more insight into Nesta as like a child, young teenager. She was this beautiful dancer who loved music, and their mother used that love and turned it into a weapon for future gain, which is super unfortunate.
I know.
And speaking of weapons, Cassian decides, let's tell Nesta about the trove that she created, and it goes poorly, to say the least. Not well. And it leaves her once again hating herself and putting up this wall. She leaves enraged by the thought that they all spoke about her, that they voted whether she should know or not, that Rhysand, who, not shocker, voted against her, but that Amren voted against her. So she leaves this rage and frustration building within her as she heads for those 10,000 stairs. And she finally completes them. And as she does, she heads straight for Amren. You thought I shouldn't even be told about my power. And Amren shoots right back. Shocker, not, because she does. She's always got little nuggets. And she says Nesta can't handle her power. And then we're let in on that fight from this summer. Quote, I didn't choose anyone, you spoiled girl. I told you that Feyre had requested you and I work together again, and you somehow twist that into me siding with her. I told them to leave you alone for months. I refused to speak about you with them. And then the moment I realized my behavior was not helping you, that maybe your sister was right, I somehow betrayed you. Right, we're bringing it right back to Feyre, right back to that trauma. There's so much hatred and frustration and heartbreak for Nesta, who feels that people continue to choose Feyre. And then who arrives to stop the argument? Feyre.
Trigger.
So in the heat of that anger and Feyre being a big trigger for Nesta lets out the truth about Feyre's fate with her pregnancy. And the whole time I was like gripping the table like, oh my God. Oh. And oh man, this section hurts because Feyre, I mean, this realization and pain that she's going through in this moment, just tears streaming down her face. And then Nesta watching the situation in front of her unfold, her realization and pain as to what she has just done. She was doing so well, and this was a really rough fight, like one of the worst ones, I think, and Nesta knows
it's not
it.
even really a fight. It's just
No,
a
it's
statement
just
and
yeah.
pain.
Yes, pain. And wanting to inflict pain. Wanting to inflict pain. Nesta knows that this was a rough fight, so as Feyre cries, Nesta runs. He turns and she books it out of there. And just as Cassian realizes she's not in the House of Wind, she's gone down the steps, he receives word from Rhys of the altercation that just happened. And Rhys tells him, get Nesta out of this city right now before I fucking kill her. And I could just feel his rage in those words. Sweeping her up and out of Valaris, Cassian flies them to a mountain range. And they're going to spend a few days hiking in the wilderness, going to a lake that he knows that Fae have traveled to for who knows how long, millennia, I'm sure, for healing. And as they reach this lake, Nesta collapses onto her knees and cries. It's been days, 3 days of walking, of hating herself, of thinking about everything she's done, not just this altercation, but all of them. And as Cassian tries to comfort her, Nesta finally opens up to some of her deepest pain. And we hear a little bit about her dad for the first time from her perspective. Quote, I let him die. He came to save me and fought for me, and I let him die with hate in my heart. And this quote too, his last words to me, that he loved me. I didn't deserve that love. I deserve nothing. And she sobs. Cassian expected there to be rage, not all of these tears. But he holds her and he reminds her that she can move past this. She can learn to be okay with her past, to move forward, to find happiness, and that he will be there to help her every step of the way. They sit for a long while, and with a kiss to the top of her head, he gets up and he unsheaths his Illyrian blade and he hands it to her. For the first time, a real sword on the banks of this lake shore. And he said, and on the banks of her next step toward healing, and he has her do all of the training that she's been learning with a real sword in her hand for the first time. And this feels like a turning point. We hope. And that is the end of these chapters.
Yes, crossing our fingers, crossing our toes. A turning point for
believe.
sure.
I believe in it.
I did feel like there were some good world building moments in these chapters. So my first one I put is, Helion says that Pegasi,
yeah. I assumed, but Pegasus.
Okay, so they're very rare, and there used to be more until one day they just vanished as if devoured by the sky itself. I'm sorry. What do you mean they just vanished into the sky? To me, this is very red flag. Like, things
red
don't
flag
just...
for Helion or red flag for the world we're in, and it's maybe
going
to connect to another world.
For the world, just in general, I'm like, things don't just disappear like that.
Yeah.
Not apparently hundreds of horses.
Hundreds of flying horses.
So what? So that I'm very curious about. Okay, he said that there was also an unexplained sickness affecting the Pegasus and making it so they couldn't breathe very long.
Have babies.
Breed. Thank you. I was like, what did I write there? Why did I write the word breathe? They couldn't breed. And their sows did not make it very long. There we go. For those of you who are listening, my notes say, and even when they can breathe, the cows do not make it very long. That's voice typing for you right there. Yikes.
Yes. Breeding is hard.
But there is a theory Yes, there is a theory that they originally came from the island the prison was once on. All of these things are yelling at me. Okay, we have been told so many things about how the prison used to be an eighth court, and there's so much mystery around it, and who put the prisoners there, and like there's so much we have questions about. And then we learn that these very rare, now disappeared magic horses came from this island. I have questions.
Feels important.
I
Feels
have
like
questions.
something. Yeah.
That I should
Well,
pay
and I
attention to.
love when we just drop this, just like here's a paragraph of like random information that you're like,
That
this
is
isn't random.
seemingly
Why else would we need to
unimportant.
know?
Yes, it's
Mm-hmm.
seemingly unimportant to the story at hand, but it has to be important in the long run. Otherwise, why would we get so many details about that? So pay attention. Okay. Faye used to be able to use elemental magic within their powers and imbue it into objects. Fire, ice, wind. What else is there? Okay, I don't know.
Night.
All the elements. But like main elemental magic that they used to be able to actually use to put into objects, which I thought was also really interesting that we can't do that anymore.
Right. Right.
Why? Gwydion, one of the first made swords, went missing over 10,000 years ago and belonged to a true high fae king.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, kind of our first like big reference point to a high king. Um, it was the uniter of the land, and that high king was betrayed by his own queen, a high queen. I told you there was a reference point. um, and their fiercest general, and the sword, and they lost the sword to them. So high king, high queen, general. These two, high queen and general, said, let's be together. They took sword, lost. And then the lands fell into darkness once more. Again, I love background knowledge. I love history and world building so much. It just provides layers. Yeah, it provides layers to a story that is already so beautiful and complex, but now it just really beefs it up.
100%.
Feels exciting. Makes it feel like it's a place you could go.
Yeah. Oh,
with a history and a land,
It's more realistic. And I like too that we get some more information that Gwyndonian is not the only weapon of this kind. That this was supposed to be a weapon of good, but we also learned that there was another one, at least one other called Narbin, that Amarantha rumored to have had and could not bend to her will, so she dumped it into the ocean. And they say that the magic that created Narbin was more dark and evil, and there's this question of what will Nesta's weapons become? Will they be for good or will they be for bad?
Yeah. And I think it's interesting that Narbin wouldn't bend to Amarantha, and Amren is telling Rhys, don't use that sword. I think it's also a question of, would that sword listen to him?
Right. Would it even work? Well, and his power, as he tries to lift it with his tendrils of darkness, he can feel that it does not want to be like unsheathed by him.
Yeah. It wants its creator.
Yeah.
And then it makes me wonder who is Narbin's creator, and if it wouldn't bow to Amarantha, why? There's a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun questions there. These are the types of questions I enjoy getting to ask. Like, ooh, yay. Valkyries used to have a king, so that kind of threw me a little bit. I was like, wait,
I agree.
This all woman force had a king?
I was like, of all the things,
I thought you'd have a queen. But that being said, then when we learn, how they sacrifice themselves in battle and the king was like not helpful, then that did make sense.
Yeah.
And I was like,
but I agree. Yeah. I was like, they have a king? Okay, whatever.
Huh. So. Yeah, though I think I just wrote a little bit down about Nesta's creations being different from the past magical objects. And, just because they have the cauldron's power, it's a very unique trait. And
Mm-hmm.
I love that this idea of like she could create anything. She could fill their armies with weapons that could win them any war. That is
Mm.
such a tempting idea.
And we're going to talk about Rhys in a little bit, but I respect the hell out of him though for not jumping at that idea of, sure, I'll just become the High King and we'll use Nesta and her power and we'll use
Mhm.
Elaine and we'll use Feyre and it's I I want to know why Amryn is so keen to this idea, why she wants this to happen so much, why she pushes for it so much in that little
Yeah.
section. But even Cassian, I think it's his, a little bit of his inner monologue of like, wow, that could help us. We could do
Mhm.
this. This could be a benefit to us.
Yeah, for sure,
A
for
little
sure.
scary.
That's yeah, that's not wrong. That's not wrong.
Well, because I think he says that too, like, oh, we could do this, but at what cost to Nesta?
Mhm. Mhm. Now, speaking of Nesta, let's talk about her
Mm-hmm.
growth, yeah? Okay, so I want to start, with her going to that blacksmith shop. There's that roaring fire of the forge, very triggering for her. Um, but she's been really working on her mind stilling, that Valkyrie technique and her breath work, and like she's able to stay in the room to pound it out, no pun intended, and that is such a point of growth for her to be able to do that. And again, this moment of catharsis, like she's working through her trauma, she's working through her triggers in a way that is also meaningful and helpful, and she has a physical way to exert that energy, which I think is really really unique, and something that I would like to try.
You want to hammer a sword?
I want to hammer a sword. Sounds
It would be
dope.
cool.
Yes.
I've
Any, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I've never hammered a sword, but all right, everybody. Here's a little backstory about Miranda. I used to go to summer camp at an engineering school.
Oh,
I was a kid.
that's so
It
nerdy
was
and
fun.
cute.
It was shut up. My dad's an engineer. My grandpas are all engineers. My
No, I
husband's an
love that for
engineer. Like
you.
it,
That-
it it was actually super fun. Like we got to use a bunch of these tools that I will now never have any other use for in the life that I live. But like we got to make our own chess sets with like the like I don't know what these things are called, guys, like an etching thing and we got
oh.
to like learn the programming to do it and whatever. But one year at the camp, we got to go to the I don't know what the, I don't know what the department is called, but essentially like the blacksmith department where they do the metals and the
Welding?
hammering and that. I mean, but we like we weren't welding. I did that for work once and that was cool. I was bad at it, but it was cool. No, like we were
Okay.
like there was like a forge and we were sticking metal in the forge and then like hammer like I have like a wall hook that you could like screw into the wall for your like coats that I like hammered the end flat and then we rounded it to a point and like I have one that's twisted and so it kind of got to do this and it's actually really cool.
Cool.
So bringing it back, it is really cool and to like do that with a sword, like to create like how cool would that be? Create your own dagger? Like but we got to find
Yeah.
out where the hell you can do that. But
So cool.
it is really cool for somebody who is not an engineer and doesn't do anything like that. I still think back about how cool that was to try that out.
So
So,
fun.
little
Okay,
story,
sign me up. Yes.
right?
Okay, so
Right.
for Nesta, I mean, Cassian even notices how different and focused and
Mm.
stronger she is. Like he's never seen her like this before. And we get to see a lot of this chapter through his point of view. So it's really fun to watch Nesta come into her own through his eye.
Mm-hmm.
And Nesta talks about how the pain had become a song, that it felt good to get it out, to channel it this way. And I am so excited by her admission because that means that she wants, or her admission, excuse me, of a small group of like women females. I'm so excited by
Mm-hmm.
that because she wants to have something more. She wants to have a future for herself in this life that she for a very long time resented. And
Mm-hmm.
now she sees something beautiful and hopeful within it. And it's going to give her purpose and fulfillment. And that's what we all desire in life, right? So it's
Yeah,
beautiful to see her find that.
I agree. Plus, how fitting would that be? The general of Rhysand's armies and the leader of the Valkyries being together. Like that seems right, right?
Yes.
I I
Yes.
also really loved the growth and the healing in this chapter. And I know that like she does ask to move away from the forge for a little bit when they're at the
Yeah, but she comes
blacksmith's
back.
shop. She does. She comes back, but I also want to highlight, and now we don't have a ton of details, but I'm sure we'd have gotten details if she'd have like freaked out or had a visceral reaction, and she didn't.
Yes.
She held herself together,
Right. Might
which
I
I
add,
also think is
asking,
growth.
yes, and asking for what you need is
Mm-hmm.
growth because she could have just sat there like she did on the original winter solstice and grin and bared it and
Mm-hmm.
just
And
been in
just been
pain all night,
unhappy.
right?
Yeah.
But instead, she asked for what she needed calmly and took care of herself. We
Yes.
love that
Not
too. This whole
yes.
section is just like revelation after revelation for her.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then right after this, we go back to training, right? And she's talking about punching the tree. She says, good. It felt good to get it out, to channel it this way. Every punch carried her fear, her rage, her hate out of her body and into that wood. And again, a great coping mechanism. But I want us to be realistic about this healing journey, right? So even in this moment, she's still showing that that trauma and depression is still there. She
Mm-hmm.
feels good. She's working through it, but she also notices that Cassian is looking at some of the other trainees. And she punched that thought out of herself too, that pathetic, selfish thought, just as all of her was pathetic and selfish and hateful.
Yeah.
It's still there, right? Like it's not gone. She's not pushing it away. It's still within her, this trauma and this depression that she's working through. But my God, what better coping mechanisms that she has to get through this. We lose those coping mechanisms a little later, when
Mm-hmm.
she freaks out about Amarin, um, kind of still going against her and then thinking, oh, you know what, someday Gwen and Emery, they'll be against me too when they know who I really
Yeah.
am.
It
So
feels
again,
inevitable to
this
her.
this healing journey is not linear, right? It's up and down, but the coping mechanisms, the growth of her coping mechanisms is just so much better, right? So good to see her channeling that in some way, to think of the future, to not just be shut down.
Okay, so uh she goes to the spring court with Cassian. And, Cassian's been assigned this courtier role, but what we find out is Nesta quite the courtier herself. And I put this in
Mm-hmm.
growth because I think it's interesting to see her utilize this skill set of hers. Obviously, that was a skill set that was given to her by her mother, or at least taught to her. But now she gets to use it on her enemies, sort of, in the Fey world. Rhys even notes that. So they go to the spring court. They're speaking with Eris, and she shows how good she is at playing a game. And even calls Eris, which I think this is so interesting, on the autumn court stash of arrows. She was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, well, you think you're so clever. Look at what I picked up on and told no one else, but I'm going to call you on it right now. I love also seeing this element of growth for her in the way that she's stepping up. She's becoming kind of like stepping into her power, if you will. Like, oh, I have all these skills and I know how to use them. And I think that's kind of what she does with the Valkyries too. With this whole
Mm-hmm.
idea of like, I can step up, I can do this. This is something that I won't fail at. And, her fear of failure is palpable in a lot of this book, or her, maybe not even fear of failure, but her frustrations with her past failures that she believes are failures. And so I'm obsessed with this born again Valkyrie idea. I love the fact that Nesta is able to find her center through practicing. You mentioned, the coping mechanisms, going through that 8-pointed star striking method with her sword. And I find it interesting that it is the same as her tattoo on her back of an 8-pointed star, and for her and Cassian's bargain.
Feels pretty fitting.
Yeah, I thought so. And, we go through all that growth just for us to feel like we go a little bit backwards.
2 steps forward, 2 steps back.
Yeah, so she does make it down those 10,000 steps, but it's in a fit of rage. So, does it count? I don't know. She didn't get down them. And, she goes on the required mandated hike. Okay. The description of her curling up on the ground, putting her head on her own arm, and wanting to fade into the rock was so sad. So sad. So she just lays there quiet, this deep sense of pain, like she's waiting for the world to swallow her up. I can't fix any of it. I can't fix me. I can't bear to be in my head and see and hear everything over and over. She's still in such a dark place, even through all of this healing. But what I love is who brings her out of it.
It's like her and Cassian are meant to be.
Destined, if you will. Yes. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is Nesta's magic, because it feels like a character in and of itself, because it is both a part of her and something that she has to own in order to become fully a part of her. So right now it still kind of feels other. Punching that tree. She burned her way through that cushion pad and into the center of the tree, leaving it burning and blackening, and it's described that it's cold as ice. Similarly, though, they also ended up,
I don't know what you wrote. y'all, it says, I'm gonna read this out loud. Sometimes I can decipher these. She said, similarly, they also ended up creating the fire when she was punching potassium.
I know what it's supposed to say. That's what's terrible. It is nothing close. My brain already knew what I had typed in there, or at least my original thought. So I'm literally looking ahead, looking for the word Feyre. And I'm like, punching potassium? What? I'll tell you what it's supposed to say. It's supposed to say, similarly, this is the same result from when Feyre was training and punching with Cassian. It auto-corrected Cassian to potassium. That's hilarious.
That's a new one. That is a new one. From now on, I'll know potassium is Cassian. I assume.
Jesus. Oh my gosh. Here's the thing. I read these before I put them in, but I don't spend every second reading every word. Clearly I need to. Let me just say what I meant to say. So cool. Fun. Nesta's punching a tree. Okay. That's where she's getting her outlet. Who also found an outlet punching with Cassian? Her sister. Who also produced fire while they were punching? Her sister. If only they could talk, they would see there's so many similarities between the two of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, sorry, that was my point. Now, Nesta, okay. Her powers can create made objects like the mask and the crown. Can we just say for a second, that's so fucking cool.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
What? That is amazing.
Not what I expected at all.
Her own dread trove That is so cool. And it just makes us realize like we see the tip of her power, like the tip, because she's not even purposefully
Mm-hmm.
doing any of this. So, what happens when she does something purposeful?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
Incredible.
we get just a little nugget of it when she's talking to Tamlin. Because they like the
Yes.
world shakes and there's like lightning in the distance. Like she's shifting the world around them. And she's only
Yes.
letting that power bubble up for like 5 minutes at the most.
Hmm.
Like it's we are yeah, we are just right here on the little edge of this massive cliff, I believe, of power.
Yes. And then also, she runs down these stairs. She goes to Amryn, and it says, that she broke through her wards. Now, the significance of this very much so bypassed me on my first read. But that's a pretty vital element of her power that she can break through
Mm-hmm.
wards with just a slam of her hand.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible. That should not be doable. And we don't really spend time with it, but it's said. Now we know she can get through the wards that surround like the excuse me, the mask
Mm-hmm.
because it calls to her and it like
Light calls to
opens them
light.
for her, right? But this is
But this is
different.
different.
So I found that very interesting. Her powers are super cool. They're
Mm-hmm.
super cool and also they're understandable. Whereas I feel like Moore's powers are probably cool, but I just like still don't get it.
Right. I'm still missing a lot of pieces of her puzzle.
I still
Where
don't
Nest
understand it.
is slowly starting to take shape. Like
Yeah,
we're
like what they
slowly
can really
starting to
do.
get at least a little understanding.
All right, so Nesta and her sisters. Here's our next section for her. So
Mm-hmm.
Nesta realizes that the House of Wind is becoming, her home. Maybe for the first time that she's truly ever had one or felt that way about somewhere she's been. And it kind of allows her to start to understand Feyre and her journey and how Feyre must have felt coming to Valaris. Because originally Nesta had a lot of resentment for Feyre, sorry, of finding like Valaris in a new home and people to call
Mm-hmm.
family. And she's like, cool, what about us? You just left.
Mm-hmm.
But Nesta's starting to get it because she's like, I've never had this before. This is what it feels like. Oh, this is what my sister meant.
Mm-hmm. It's
Which,
they're so much more similar than they are different.
mhm,
And
very much
they
so.
they just need to I don't know, it's like lock them in a room and let them hash it out, which would be terrifying and we're not going to do that.
Ah!
But they are so much more similar than they think they are. And I thought that was a
Mhm.
really beautiful moment too for Nesta, more than anything to feel like she's finding a home. And I
Mhm.
can't help but think that it's got to be the House of Wind kind of mothering her has got to be a really big part of
Yeah.
that.
Well, and she kind of considers the house her friend too, in a way,
Mm-hmm.
which is really sweet. Now, Elaine, speaking of sisters, Elaine is the one that tells everyone about Nesta's dancing and the way she used it as a tool. And she calls Nesta an artist and said that she uses dance the same way that Feyre used paint. I really thought that was such a beautiful description of her abilities because it's hard as readers to like really visualize what first of all like what is great dancing versus there's so many different reference points we all can go to in
Yeah.
our brain, right? But
Yeah.
to akin it to the way that Pharaoh would paint, when we've heard and seen Pharaoh's paintings described as such gorgeous works of art, gives you a better reference point.
Mm-hmm. And we get a little bit more detail about how incredible she must have been. She could bring a ballroom to a halt with her skills. She even
Mm-hmm.
used those skills to court a man that she knew she didn't want and really couldn't have because she was 14 and he was an adult because another person who was mean to Elaine wanted them. So Nesta used her skills. She used her beauty and her wealth and her dancing to get what she wanted. She was an incredible dancer, which makes a lot of sense then for the way that she's able to pick up on her training with Cassian. It takes
Mm-hmm.
time, of course, the balance, but he notes that too once he learns that she was a dancer, like, oh, it's muscle memory. It's
Yeah,
there. It's taking time to bring it back to the surface, but it's there.
but
She's
she
got
had
this
it.
within her.
Yeah, pretty cool. Now, I will say it's very sad that Nesta can't see the love that Feyre has for her. That just breaks my
Mm-hmm.
heart every single time. But Nesta reveals, Feyre's truth about her pregnancy out of anger. And, we wanted Feyre to know, but this wasn't the way.
This wasn't
This
the
wasn't
way.
how we wanted it to happen. I'm sure Feyre feels betrayed and on many sides, which is how
Mm-hmm.
Nesta was feeling. She didn't want to be alone in her pain. She felt betrayed and
Mm-hmm.
wanted someone else to feel betrayed right alongside her.
And
And
Feyre
it
kind of
makes it
recognizes it. We'll talk about it
yeah,
more, but
yeah. It makes it understandable. It doesn't make it right. But
yeah,
then it makes sense at least.
at
But,
least you
Nesta hits
understand
that.
where it was coming from.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She hits that full rock bottom. She realizes, that deep pain she inflicted upon her sister. She really has to reflect and take time with it, though, but to I think, realize the extent of it. But it hits her pretty quick. Like, almost immediately, she's like, oh, shit, I fucked up.
Mm-hmm. Which is
And she says
growth
it.
too. I don't know
Yeah,
that she did that before. I think
I
it took her
know.
a little bit longer to recognize the things that she was saying and doing were hurtful, but now she recognizes it right away.
Mhm. And it really gives us a better insight into what's happening in Nesta's head because, she says it broke something inside of her. It broke the anger she had towards Amryn once she saw Feyre's face. But now she can't unsee it. She closes her
Mm-hmm.
eyes and she's going into the forest for the first time, sees Feyre going into the forest for the first time, letting her sister be the sacrifice for their family. She sees Elaine going into the cauldrons. She sees her father's face. Now she sees Feyre's face, telling her about the baby. It's one mistake after the other that she cannot unsee. She cannot forgive herself,
Mm-hmm.
which is really sad. And I
It is
feel
really
for
sad.
this relationship she has with her sisters is so much more complicated than I think any of us could have assumed it was in book one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting too when we get these little nuggets, and I guess this could go in the Elaine section, but it relates to Nesta. Because Elaine says, I always thought she was born on the wrong side of the wall. And this is kind of coming back to the ballrooms. She made
Mm-hmm.
ballrooms into battlefields and plotted like any general. And again, that layered relationship that these sisters have, the way that they see each other, the way that they watch each other is much deeper than what we got in ACOTAR, ACOWAR, ACOMAF, all of those. But I will say too, Feyre's younger. So those layers may not be as deep. She didn't see as much. She wasn't around for as much. She was younger. So she's not paying
Mm-hmm.
attention to some of these things that we're now getting to understand through Elaine and Nesta's eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it's time to go talk about one of my favorite duos, Nesta and Cassian. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
my goodness. So, I honestly feel like this section just keeps peeling back layers of Nesta in the most real way because right when you see like that small, awful part of her being glad that, no one is sighing over Cassian at training, she's like, oh, good. And she hates that she thought that about herself. She calls herself selfish,
Mm-hmm.
but she turns it inward. She thinks she's pathetic. You're like, oh, she's growing. No, we're back.
Yeah.
But like also you can tell she wants him. She wants him so bad and she doesn't
Mm-hmm.
want anyone else to have him.
Mm-hmm.
And we go to that moment with Helion where he comes in all charming and complimentary and somehow he's the one who ends up so uncomfortable. I love that she made another High Lord
I know. It's
uncomfortable.
like shifting on his feet, like,
Like,
uh...
okay, you don't want me? Why wouldn't you want me?
I mean, I just rode in on a glorious black stallion. I've got muscly legs. I'm tan and gorgeous. You don't want me?
Yeah, that is exactly how I perceive him, by the way. Exactly what you just did.
Thank Thank you. Lean back in the chair.
Yes. Yes. But no, she ignores him. And who does she start talking to immediately? Cassian. She's like, okay, cool. So back to you. Which I think says a lot about like where her attention is actually lying and intention as well.
It happens with Eris too.
Absolutely.
Continues to happen.
Yes. Now, I really do feel like, speaking of Cassian, that mating bond is practically screaming at us at this point. Like, if we could pick up on that in a book that wasn't even their POV, like, but it is literally screaming at us at this point. And it feels... It's like he feels this overwhelming need, right, to defend her. And that was an immediate tell because of what we hear about Rhys and wanting to protect Feyre. But Cassian says it's like one drop of Nesta's blood, and it sent him into this like instinctual keyword there, feeling like he has to actively like fight it down, like push it down, not to just like suddenly come to her defense. That's a mating bond. 100%.
And it's there for her too. She continues to come to his defense. Eris is giving him shit. People are calling him a brute. Like, she does the same thing. She doesn't recognize it yet, but she's doing the same thing. And we're going to talk about it here in a moment. But again, it's slapping us in the face. They're in bed together and she goes, I need more. Yeah. We're going to get to that and like talk about that section a little bit more too. But it's slapping us in the motherfucking face.
Absolutely. Now, there are some, little quiet growth moments that I really enjoyed. So Nesta asks the house for a book that Cassian would read. Because, it's not just about understanding him, but she's choosing to learn for herself instead of being used as a weapon. She doesn't want to be used. And it feels very honest and powerful for her to go through this moment, but it is a little bit about Cassian too. Like she does want a little bit more insight into understanding him. And she's a mess. She's all over the place. But they're both really just stuck in their heads. Like they want each other and they're both thinking the same things, but they're not saying them out loud. It's so frustrating. I'm like, can't you just need to talk? Just talk.
And I think if Cassian would say something, and maybe he will, I don't know, I think that would help Nesta so much. Because she says like, oh, he didn't kiss me when he left my room. But Nesta, you said sex and nothing else. You continue to push that. You want more. So he's giving you what you're asking for, but he wants more. And I'm just like, I think it has to be Cassian. He needs to just do it or say it or whatever it is, do the grand action. But he's scared. I know. He's scared, and I get it. If I was in his position, I would be scared too.
Well, through all of this tension, we spiral straight into one of the most iconic spicy moments in this series. Okay? I want you unleashed, she says. And then she says, then have at me, Cassian. Okay, Nesta.
Says his motherfucking name.
Okay, Nesta. We see you. And it just builds from there. And with literally like questioning, how can I need him again so soon? And that's that quiet, like, a mating bond realization, like creeping in. But I don't think she knows that. Or does she? I think her understanding of mating bonds is a little different, and he has a better understanding of it. But they want each other like so bad they can't stop. That's a mating bond yelling at them. And then, oh my gosh, there's this commanding kind of energy, and you've already said part of it. But this sense of like General Cassian comes to bed, okay? Get on your hands and knees. Aye, aye, Captain. Okay?
Whatever you say.
Put your hands on the headboard. Hold on tight. All three of those back to back, I'm just like, yes, sir. I've never longed for submission in my life, but wow, that was the one. I'm like, okay, will do.
That's the social media clip.
Oh God. Great. I don't know if I want that on the internet. Cheers, everybody.
No. That'll stay here. I'll clip the first part. Oh my God. Yeah, no, relatable. You're like, yes, sir.
It's such a great scene. But here's the thing, right? Their connection is not just physical. Like, it's very real too. There's a softness to it, which is so sweet. They go to the spring court. We already know that Cassie's got terrible allergies, and she makes him feel less embarrassed about his allergies, his big old soldier with his sniffles, okay? Because she opens up about her own, which is so sweet. She's like, yeah, same thing. Hate spring. Both of them were like, spring sucks. And you know what? I used to think I loved spring until I moved to Florida. The pollen. Spring is maybe my least favorite time of year because I'm
my
just
least
sick
favorite
forever. Ugh.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get it. I get it. But I love how she's like trying to make him feel like, yeah, it's cool. Yeah, me too. I'm here with you.
Relatable.
Very nice. Very,
you.
like an intimate moment of trusting each other. And absolutely italicize LOVE, love. How proud she is of him when he shows his heart and his vulnerability in front of others. She knows that he feels bad about killing those Autumn Court soldiers. Like, she sees it within him. And I think that the sincerity of her feelings and his sincerity about his regrets clearly matters to her. Maybe more so than she lets on or lets herself believe. But things shift very dramatically here when Nesta goes on that rampage, right? And Feyre calls her a caged wolf, and then reframes it as someone who never learned how to be a wolf because of her cage. Her cage to me meaning like society.
Yeah.
And its requirements of her.
Their mother.
Yeah, and she's saying, Feyre saying that Nesta is something ancient and powerful and savors the bite. Yeah, that's kind of like who she was as a human too, for sure, who she was made to be. Cassian knows these things about her, and I think that's what makes the choice to take her into the wilderness hit even harder. He knows that is going to be something that is a trial for her. That she has to endure and go through to like fully break before she can mend. And when Cassian basically says, he's like, she comes home when I decide she's ready. And I mean, it sounds a little harsh, but you realize that he's probably the only one who actually understands what ready looks like for her. I don't think anybody else would know or be able to really see it. Even her. I think it has to be him to be able to know when she can return to the land of the living here, you know? But he says a really beautiful truth that he can't save her from herself. And that's hard. It's hard to look at someone you love, to see how much pain they're in, and to know there's only so much you can do. To feel like you don't want to go away, you don't want to leave them, but you can't do it for them. And then when it's, potentially your mate, I can only imagine how painful that's going to be too.
Yeah.
But I think that's what makes the final sentiment so meaningful too. He says he doesn't want her to lose her sharpness, her boldness, or fearlessness. He just doesn't want her to cage it. He doesn't want her to change. He just wants her to be herself. But
and
in a way that
with herself.
Yeah. I love them. They're the best. I love him. Cassian's amazing.
He's pretty great.
So should we talk about Cassian?
I mean, we already were.
I mean, we were, but like solo. I mean, it's like impossible to do them solo, but okay, for me, these chapters really test Cassian's inner strength. He has so much that he's got to maintain and hold on to, whether it be like his defense of Nesta, his desire for her, or his understanding of whether it be Nesta or himself. So, first off, I thought it was wild for the inner circle to ask him not to tell Nesta about her ability to make objects. Like, they could clearly sense her all over him. Like, a blind person could feel and smell their mating bond in this world. And I think it was too steep of a price to ask him to pay. Like, don't tell her. What do you think?
And he's such an open book anyway. He wears his heart on his sleeve. And for them to say, here's this incredible information, don't tell her.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you can't expect someone like Cassian to keep that in. He can't do it. That's not who he is.
Mm-hmm.
And so
but I also think they shouldn't have kept it from him either. I think they just needed to tell them all.
Yeah, exactly. It needed to be an open conversation. And it's hard, right? Like trying to have an open conversation with Nesta hasn't gone well. So they think, okay, what's best is for us to decide. And then nothing is happening in a proper communication way.
No.
You know,
it's so irritating because why am I getting angry? Oh my God, I know what happens. But anyways, I'm angry. I'm pissed off because they do not really consult Cassian very much on this decision. Like he gets a vote, but they don't take time to really listen to him on like, where's Nesta at? What's she doing? Like, nor do I think, even if they did, I don't think they really believe him because none of them take the time to go see for themselves. Amren, Feyre, Rhys, like intermittently to drop off Emery, right? But they don't really see her. Are they talking to Clotho? Are they talking to Gwyn? Are they they're not really trying to see if she's healed. They're just still assuming she is the same. So that feels very frustrating to then, yes, ask him to pay that price. And, he so badly wants to and does come to her defense. But his loyalties are to his High Lord and Lady, and they win out at the end of the day because they're not yet mated. I think if they were mated, his loyalties would go to Nesta. But he has to sit there and agree to this vote to keep her out of it. And when he finally gets that opportunity to tell her, he's like, yeah, they voted and he can do it. Just like a big old facepalm. Okay. Yeah. Oh, Cassian. Like, I love you for being so excited to tell her and believing in her. But he just didn't think about the we of it. When Nessa's like, who's we? Come again? But he also comes to her defense with Lucien, right? They keep sending Lucien to come check on her. People. What the fuck? Why? It's so random to me. And Lucian's like
disposable.
I guess.
Something happens, it's fine.
Stop. It's so terrible. Lucien remarks on how there are some things that should not be awakened, like her powers. Like he even fucking knows, okay? And then he says he was told to kill a few hours by coming to see her. And what does Cassian say? She's not a carnival attraction. That's right, Cassian. I love that. Now, while she may not be an attraction, there definitely is an attraction. And Cassian's desire for her is palpable. And I giggled when he started thinking about Nesta's backside and Helion calls him on his thoughts because he can scent them. Again, not something that I would want that power for. But Cassian's just sitting there just like drooling, essentially, in his mind. Everyone around them can feel it and smell it. Hilarious. But there's also a lot of deep understanding coming from Cassian, right? Nesta herself, sees the regret in Cassian's eyes over killing the Autumn Court soldiers. We mentioned that. And he feels so deeply. And that's how, he knows Nesta is about to have this big release, because she sees him, he sees her. They somehow see each other without looking at each other enough. But they understand each other, and he knows there's something good. There's something a brewing. He knew the storm was coming, and he better be ready to weather it. Weather her.
Best person too. It's very sad though too in that moment when they're hiking and he goes, I could see it in her eyes. I knew she hated herself, but I didn't realize she hated herself enough to not want to exist anymore. I bet that was just gut-wrenching for him to finally see, deeper into how depressed she really is.
Yeah.
Best person to be there for her though, that's for sure.
I agree. Now, as we shift into Azriel, I do think that he's also someone who, fortunately, has been there for Nesta in a way that we maybe didn't expect. I didn't have a lot to say for Azriel in these chapters, but I do think it's nice that Azriel's determined to do something to make a difference, even though he has blatantly told no several times. I do find it interesting. He goes as far as questioning Feyre's authority and command. Did you pick up on that?
I just clearly not as much as you did.
Yeah, I just thought it was odd. It's your high lady, you have to listen to her. Clearly she is the newest of your, I guess, relationships when it comes to hierarchy. And he questions if he's going to listen to her command, to which Rhys reminds him, her command stands.
And I think Cassian, Azriel has always kind of pushed. So it doesn't surprise me, I guess, especially maybe with Feyre being newest in the position, because I wonder too if maybe he thinks, well, maybe there's a little more leeway or a little more leniency there. Maybe if I push hard enough, she'll give in. Because he's not afraid to push against Rhys. He is very much, he will, kind of speak his mind and say his truth. He'll be shut down for it, but I think he does that pretty often. So I guess maybe I just wondered if it was just, let's see how far I can get with Feyre.
Yeah, perhaps. Now, Azriel's counterpart, technically Lucian's counterpart, Elaine. So Nesta, she goes in the spring court. She hates it, but she thinks, oh my gosh, Elaine would love it here.
It was made for someone like her.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It makes me think, is she supposed to be in the spring court? Is it meant for her?
I mean, hell, it's not being run by anybody else. And we know there can be a high lady.
So interesting. And Tamlin doesn't have any children. So if something happens to Tamlin in the upcoming books, where does the power go to? I'm so interested. Would it transfer? Could it transfer to Elaine? Suddenly Elaine is the high lady of the spring court? That would be pretty cool.
Then I don't know if her and Azriel would be a very good fit. I can't
know.
see Azriel in spring.
I know. I thought about that too. And I'm like, well, maybe her and Lucian are destined. Maybe they're going to figure their shit out.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Alas. Well, that brings me to the next Archeron sister, our OG, Feyre.
Yeah,
Feyre's got a lot of unfortunate moments in these chapters, and her impending death is really one of them, and becomes heavier and heavier on everyone's hearts. And hope really seems to be lost, even when she doesn't know about it. It just feels very dark at the beginning of these chapters when it comes to Feyre. And Feyre, she does find out, and she wonders if the bone carver only showed her what she wanted to see. because, her baby in her wing, in her belly, it has wings. The one that he showed her did not. Although, perhaps much like his father, maybe the baby can make him disappear.
Hmm. Yeah, I wonder that too, if they can kind of come and go. I also, Feyre's the only of her kind, right?
Yeah.
She's made in a unique way. Could the bone carver maybe not see it all?
Could be. I think there's a lot
Who
left up to
knows?
interpretation there.
We don't
Now,
have him to ask,
I know.
unfortunately.
Damn it. Now, Feyre very well may be, I think one of the most level-headed of this group for such a young female in this world, and in the human world for that matter. But it's quite surprising that she's the one who's like cool, calm, and collected. And I think that's kind of what makes her such a great leader too. But she says that, Rhysand overreacted, that she understands where Nesta was coming from and telling her the way that she did. And she chooses to remain calm, even in the face of her own fears and death, and chooses that out of safety and protection for her unborn child. Just the way she's able to approach all these situations. It makes me, I really enjoy being inside Nesta's head, but it does make me wish that I could be back in Feyre's mind for a moment. Even the moment when she, as painful as it would have been, the moment when she realized everything. Like,
I
I
agree.
would have liked that inner monologue.
And her like shooting down the bond to resand that she now knows.
Yeah.
Like there were a lot of moments that I was like, ooh, I would have really liked to have been back in her head. But I
Mm-hmm.
agree, she's so level-headed and her maturity speaks bounds.
Yeah.
The growth that we saw into our lovely Feyre has been incredible. And I think too of that conversation that she has with Cassian when using her Daemati powers to chat with him when they're in the wilderness for just a second. And yeah, she says, Rhys overreacted. I'm okay. I get it. Like, I understand it's not okay what Nesta did, but she did tell me. You
Mm-hmm.
guys didn't, and she did. And again, that
Yeah.
maturity that Feyre has, I just think is incredible. And I hope that Nesta gets the opportunity to see that and to
Mm-hmm.
change. She can't change what she did. She can't change the pain that she caused, but maybe she can allow herself to move past it, knowing that at least she spoke the truth. And
Yeah.
now her sister knows.
I do think Feyre has a little bit more lenience when it comes to Nesta because she didn't originally, I think when we started these books, she describes Nesta as pretty cruel. And,
Mm-hmm.
they're going into the market to sell the pelts and whatnot in book one. And we just don't get a great description of Nesta because in Feyre's mind, she didn't have anything positive or kind to say about her. And all of that shifted when Feyre realizes Nesta went into the woods to find her. She risked her own life and safety for the first time for her. And I do think that has made it so that Feyre is willing to forgive and let go and see the better in her sister when she never had previous to that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
She didn't have a
so I,
reason
yeah, I
to
know.
see it. She was never given anything to see that there was a layer to Nesta
Mm-hmm.
beyond the cruelty that she saw.
Yeah,
And now she
yeah,
knows it's there. It's just breaking down that
right.
wall.
Well, Rhysand definitely doesn't care to break down that wall, that's for sure. Get Nesta out of here before I kill her. Yeah, fair, fair. Now,
Yeah.
speaking of Rhysand, I want to talk about this High King proposal, okay? Aemon's observation is very interesting, and I suppose it does make sense for his character, because she's pretty persistent about it. I just don't know how I feel about it. It makes me honestly, it makes me feel nervous for all the reasons that I think he's pointing out. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, like that. I don't know that I understand the reasoning, but it does make me feel nervous. But yes, the cauldron's benevolence. I don't want
Mm.
it given to a different High Lord.
Right. Like who else would it go to? Like Tarquin's nice and Callius is nice and Kelian's nice, but we don't really know that much about them. And we know that Rhysand is incredibly caring and that he does
Yeah.
everything he can for his people. Uh
But I get
yeah.
his hesitancy.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Like,
I do think
you
it's something to
wonder,
consider, but
I don't know.
uh,
It's thinking about Tamlin's words in the big High Lord, High Lady meeting of being like, don't you all wonder why he's suddenly playing this nice game and what his end goal is?
mhm.
And that's not a thought in their heads at the time, but shoot, what if that's how everyone perceives this? That I egged on this war, that I wanted this to happen. Why? So that you all could need me. And oh, look, I happen to be in possession of all these things, and I happen to know things before anyone else does.
Mhm.
It's suspicious, even if it wasn't the intention. And so, for that reason, I don't know that it is a good idea.
Mhm. And I like too that he says, I don't wish to be the High King. I only wish to be here with my mate and my people because that's what he
Mm-hmm.
wants. He wants to protect Valaris. That's all he's
Yeah,
ever wanted.
wanted.
And I will say, I appreciate so much this mindset of that's not what I want. It's not what I want to do. It's not who I want to be. And maybe, because again, who else would it be? That does make him, if this is something that has to happen,
The
the best
best.
choice for Prithian, especially because I have always felt that the best politicians are the ones who don't necessarily want it. They
Yeah.
don't want the job, they don't want the money or the power that comes with it. They want to help people. They
Yeah.
want to make a difference for people. And so, while I agree, I don't know that it's right. And I don't know if it's necessary. If it became necessary,
Mm-hmm.
who
I
else
think
is it? Unless it's Nesta or it's
well,
just
that
Feyre. You
could
know
be
what
a
I mean?
twist of
Like,
events. Yes. I do think it would be really interesting. I think I could get on board if all the other High Lords, it was their idea and their
right.
proposal.
If they came
Then
forward
I
and
think I
said,
could like definitely be on
yeah,
board with it, but I just don't see it going well the other way around. Hey, everybody,
I
I got this
know.
idea. What if I take over everything and I'm your leader?
I know. I agree. I think this
So,
idea of like, oh, they'll bend the knee, right? You'll only have to deal with Baron and Tamlin. It's like, ah, I don't know if that's true. Like these friendships, some of them are very new, very
yeah,
fragile
yeah.
still. So it's an interesting, I mean, I don't think this conversation has gone away. It's not going to be done. It'll probably come back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I agree. I don't know that it's right. Um, Before we leave Rhysand, I wanted to note something. He is utterly distraught over Feyre and the baby. Of course he is. But I want to point out something that he did that I think shows how willing he is to try to help Feyre. He gets on his knees.
Mm-hmm.
He drops to his knees. We know him and his knees. He will kneel
Mm-hmm.
before no one. He drops to his knees to beg Helion to help them. Again, Rhysand, the most powerful High Lord, I kneel to no one but my crown. This is his life, this is his family, this is his crown, his future, his everything, and he drops to his knees in front of another High Lord. And I just think that is a testament to who he is again and what he's willing to do to try and help the people around him and help his loved ones.
Yes, absolutely. Oh yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. It's a good
I
character
really
moment for
thought it
him.
was, yeah, it was
Absolutely.
huge. Little
Now,
moment, but
uh,
big impact.
big moment.
Yeah,
Little big
for
moment.
sure.
We're gonna shift over to someone else. Little petite little Amryn.
Yes. Oh, Amryn.
with her big old personality. Okay, now not to like beat a dead horse, but she does make some good arguments for Feyre when it comes to like the High King, High Queen situation about how Feyre would do what was best to protect their child. Like if it
Mm-hmm.
meant being a High Queen to protect their child, she would do it. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think Amren's got a point there. I think Amren knows her well enough to see that within Feyre. But Amren sees a lot. You, in our summary today, mentioned that conversation that Amren had with Nesta. And
Yeah.
I'm going to reiterate this ending portion of the conversation where, Nessa's essentially saying, like, you don't know how I feel about Feyre. And Amber goes, oh, yes, poor you with a younger sister that loves you so dearly. She's willing to do anything to get you help.
Mm-hmm.
Nesta remarks, Feyre doesn't love me. She doesn't deserve her love. As in Nesta's inner thought, I don't deserve her love. And Amren says, the fact that you believe that shows you're not ready for those powers. Amren, I think, very much so understands the powers that Nesta possesses. I think of all the characters here, she knows what she's capable of. How much
Mm-hmm.
she's really revealed of that, perhaps not. But we talked earlier today about how it doesn't feel like Nesta's powers are yet a piece of her. Or they are a piece of her, but they are not
They're
like
not
her.
her.
She hasn't
Mm-hmm.
owned them yet. And I think that this portion of Amren's conversation with her kind of reveals a little bit of why. Like until if you still believe that you don't deserve love, if you still believe that the people around you aren't here for you, you're not ready for what those powers bring. Because you have to
Mm-hmm.
really know yourself and be honest to know yourself before you can own that type of energy. And man, that kind of brings us full circle for her, for Nesta,
I
and
wonder,
what Amren has said.
yeah. And I wonder, Amryn clearly can help people with vast power. She did with
Mm.
Rhysand.
Yep.
Was this a conversation in some way, shape, or form that she had to have with him?
Hmm.
You have to be okay with you. You have
Yeah.
to work through your own shit to be able to actually harness this power within you. I think she's got some experience, maybe not in the same way, but
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
some similarities, having helped Rhysand.
Yeah.
And she sees a lot. Amryn is, and that's like her being
She's
pushy.
15,000 years of a lot.
She is. Yeah, and her being pushy about the High King stuff again is very interesting because Amryn has so much time in this world, has
Mm-hmm.
seen and heard and experienced so much.
Yep. Yep.
I think it's important to pay attention to the words that she says, to her wisdom, to her fighting words. Even there right at the end, you didn't say this, but like they're talking about being friends. And
Mm-hmm.
you have that Nesta said, you were my friend. And Ammon's like, was I? Because I don't know that you know what that word means. I don't know that you
Mm-hmm.
understand what love is. I don't know that you understand what friendship is. And those are the things that I think make Rhysand this powerful, kind of scary, powerful Fae, able to hone that in. The people
Mm-hmm.
around him that he can love and he can take care of. And Nesta doesn't have that yet.
Yeah. But she's getting there.
She is.
She's
Slowly
getting
but
there.
surely, 1/3 left to this book, and we are getting there. We've taken so many steps forward. We really, really have. And
Yes.
honestly, as tough as the steps back were in these chapters, they're not as daunting. I don't feel like
Mm.
she can't come back from it.
Yeah.
Where at maybe some other points it was like, oh my God, like what is going to happen with this character? I I can see the future too. She can and I
Mm-hmm.
can.
Beautiful. Now, there are probably some things for both of us that didn't quite click within these chapters or left us with questions. So,
Always.
yeah. Do we think that so the High King stuff, do you think that it will keep coming up? Right? Um, Aaron says that these blades are kingmakers, but if they're Nesta's blades, are they queen makers?
So I also noted that. I said the last person to make or have a magical weapon was the High King of Prithian. And I said, so foreshadowing to Nesta as the High Queen of somewhere. Maybe it doesn't have to be Prithian, but maybe it's somewhere. And I'm like, maybe I'm pulling at strings because of the
Maybe we're both pulling at strings, girl.
queen references. I mean, consistently get these queen like references. I think that this idea that like if Rhysand doesn't accept it and it'll end up somewhere to somebody.
Somebody might be Nesta. I mean, it's what it's
Do
feeling
I think
like.
she's ready for it? No, but we're working on it. We're working on it. So maybe.
Absolutely. Okay, so then this is it's like a small shift, but you're talking about this magic blade. Okay, so then we have these three sisters, three faces of the mother combined with the blades and their new dread trove, the objects being pulled back into play, and it's all pointing at a potential prophecy about there being another high king. And she says that again. I think it's about a high queen. I don't think it's meant for Rhysand. But like also he'd be good at it. It's so confusing.
Right.
And then there's this ancient voice that tells there's this ancient and wise voice that tells Cassian to keep going. And that I'm wondering, is it the mother urging Cassian on because it knows that Nesta needs this push? Like, I think the mother is very much so connected. I've already like made this theory about the mother and the house being one, the mother and the cauldron's origins being one. We know that the cauldron was like tampered with at some point, but to become this like almost like evil source because it was tampered with by bad people. But originally the cauldron was from the mother. The house feels very mothery in its power.
Well, and it's got this big black hole in the center that we don't know what it is or where it's from, and things kind of come out of it towards Nesta.
Yes, that.
I agree. There's something pushing.
She got this voice in the Bog of Urid telling her stuff. And it's a female voice. And we have another ancient and wise voice telling Cassian what's right for Nesta to keep going. I just feel like the mother is all a part of this in Nesta's journey. The mother is part of being the cauldron. And it makes all of these things and these blades and these prophecies feel very connected towards her. Also, I wanted to note there's a secret slumbering land that time had forgotten. It's healing, and I don't know why that feels important. Why? Why is it healing? Why is it slumbering? Why is it forgotten? Was it important once?
Or important now? Important in the future? There's lots of these mountains. These northern mountains are very curious. Yes. So we've talked about the mother, the crone, and the maiden, right? The three faces.
Yeah.
But then I think too how we talk a lot about like the mother, the cauldron, and fate. So Feyre, the mother, Nesta, the cauldron, and Elaine, fate. A seer.
So she's a seer,
fate.
Perhaps. Yeah.
So I think about kind of those three things too, especially as we're just kind of talking about, you know, connection and Feyre is very much so the one right now who is pushing for Nesta's healing. She sees it, you know, it's going to happen. It can happen. I love her regardless.
Very motherly.
The mother is pushing her. Exactly. And then Nesta's a piece of the cauldron. The cauldron has been made into this evil kind of thing. So perhaps Nesta is the good of that, what creates the good again. So the mother, the cauldron, and then maybe fate is Elaine. So another kind of interesting.
Exciting.
Very much so. Okay, a few of the questions that I had. Helion says that he really feels the mask's power when they pull the blanket off, more than Feyre or Rhys or anybody. Like they feel it, but not the way that he seems to kind of like recoil from it. And he says that maybe someone in his line wore it and was killed by it. But I just felt like that was an interesting little nugget that we were given. Again, just kind of a drop in the bucket. But
yeah,
I don't
agree.
know.
Felt important.
I was intrigued by that. Gwyndonian, the blade, and Narbin, the blades. Gwyndonian's been lost for millennia, but that doesn't mean it's gone. That doesn't mean it's been destroyed. They don't know that. Same thing with Narbin. That's all just kind of hearsay that maybe Amarantha had it and tossed it into the sea. So I don't know. Interesting. And then the rest of the inner circle, do they know about Rhys and Feyre's death pact, the bargain that they created? I'm gonna go with no. I'm gonna go with they don't know that. I'm gonna go with they're gonna be really upset if they find out about that later. And at Feyre, the realization, because that, I mean, the pain of knowing that she may
kind
die,
of revealed
the pain
a
of
little
knowing
bit
she
of
may
it.
lose her child.
When she had that revelation, she kind of revealed a little bit of that in front of Amren.
And I can think,
wonder.
maybe Feyre would have been okay, if they didn't have this bargain, like, cut the baby out of me and Rhys, you'll have a piece of me. If I can't make it and a C-section doesn't work in Prythian, which makes no motherfucking sense, then at least you'll have this piece of me. But now she realizes, oh no. That's not, we have made a bargain, a pact that if I die, you die. Everybody's dying. So
yep.
And then again, that tendril of smoke and darkness that comes up out of the pit in the library towards Nesta. Is it leftovers of Bryaxis? Where the fuck is Bryaxis? Is it something else? Well, I'm like, is there a piece of Bryaxis still here? Like, is it something else? Where does this pit, it's inky black, even still without Bryaxis in it. So what is it? Is it a portal? Is it the mother? Is it where the Prythian and the rest of the land came from? We continue to touch on the stuff coming out of the pit. So, oh, and I forgot I had one more. I've had this question for a little bit. Dracon and Miriam, do they have a dread trove item? Do they have the harp? Because they have something.
Would be a good place to hide it. An island you can't find.
But that's the thing. They have something that has been able to hide them. So or do they have Gwyndian? I was saying it wrong. Do they have Narbin? Do they have the harp?
I didn't want to call you on it, so I just typed it out for you.
You didn't say anything earlier, so I didn't know.
It's okay. We were moving on.
Guys, I don't listen to it, so I used to say everybody's name.
There's no shame in any of that.
But Dracon and Miriam, do they have one of these items? Is that how they can hide themselves, or is it something wholly unknown to us? But just thinking about where the harp could be and who may have it, that was something that I was curious about.
So many good questions we have. All right, now that brings us to the heroine's journey. So Nesta's journey here feels like a turning point where survival alone is no longer enough. She begins to realize that the rage that once kept her alive, quote, would only sustain her for so long. And that in order to truly live, she needed joy, needed music. That's what Cassian realizes. What makes this so powerful is that her greatest battle is no longer with the outside world, but it's within herself, her own thoughts, the ones that feel heavier than the pack on her back. She's weighed down by guilt and grief and everything else that she believes she cannot undo. And yet, one of the most grounding moments is when Cassian reminds her it's not too late. I can't tell you when or how, but this will get better. The guilt and the pain you feel, you will get through it, but only if you are willing to fight, face it, and embrace it, and walk through it to the other side. There is another side. I've seen what you do when you fight for the people you love. Why not apply that same bravery to yourself? That question becomes the heart of her transformation, because Nesta has always known how to fight for others, but never believed she herself was worth fighting for. Her journey shows us that healing is not about erasing the past or proving we were right or wrong. It's about choosing again and again to move forward anyway, even when we can't yet see the outcome. Everyone deserves happiness, Cassian says. It is often traveled blind, but the destination is worth it. And perhaps the most important truth she learns is that forgiveness is not something we wait to receive from others. It's something we choose to give ourselves. A lesson that all of us could hold a little bit more closely.
And I was literally planning to end on the same quotes from Cassian, so I couldn't have said it better myself.
Now, I know you want to keep going. I know you want to turn the page, but we got to close the book on this one.
But hey, every epic needs a cliffhanger, right? So let's savor the suspense.
And remember to like, share, subscribe, and write a review.
And join us again next week as we dive into chapters 51 through 63.
But before you remove your bookmark to prepare for next week, remember that whether you are conquering your own kingdom or just cozying up with a good book, you are the main character of your own epic tale.
Okay, queens, for real now. Put the book down, hold that crown high, and we will catch you on the next page.